Hey guys, Eric here, and welcome back to Solstice Tavern and all things Megacade. Today I'm going to be talking about Gun4IR. So today I'm going to be talking about Gun4IR. Now, what is Gun4IR? So when you get a Megacade or a home arcade cabinet, most current cabinets are going to come, and I'm talking about the custom built ones with emulation and stuff like that, not the arcade one-ups and stuff like that. But when you get a custom built cabinet for yourself, or if you're building one at home and you want to use light gun games or you want to play light gun games, you have a few different options available to you. One of the options is called an Ultimark Aimtrak or Aimtraks. And these are light guns that were considered the standard for a long time, and they work okay. They're not perfect, but I don't think any of the light guns available are 100% perfect, but Aimtraks are pretty good. With the Extreme Home Arcades, you have a few different options when you order, and Aimtraks is definitely one of them. So Aimtraks will use an infrared bar that gets mounted up here in between your speakers. I don't know if you can see that. It's not really focusing very well. Right up there. There you go. And that infrared bar will help the light guns track the crosshair movement on your screen. And yeah, that's basically how they work. They come in a couple different varieties. You can just get the gun itself, or you can get one with recoil, and it's got a little solenoid in it that'll kick back every time you fire. So that's Aimtraks. The software is already on here for configuration, and there are plenty of videos on how to configure Aimtrak guns, and that's the first option. The second options are Sindens. Now Sindens were created because the light guns that were out there on the market basically weren't cutting it as far as accuracy and as far as playability. So Sindens were developed. The Sinden software sometimes leaves something to be desired, although there are plenty of happy customers out there that are very successful in configuring and using their Sinden guns, and they are considered very good. I understand they do come in a variety with recoil, and they come in a variety without recoil, as well as plenty of other options, although I'm not 100% familiar with the Sinden guns themselves. I do know they have buttons on the side. They also have a D-pad on the side of the gun. Now Sindens work a little bit differently. Each game will create a white border around the game, and that's how the gun kind of tracks where it's supposed to be. Now, where there are some shortfalls is with ambient lighting. If you're in a place like this, as you can see, there's a giant glare light bar going across my screen right there, and that's just because how I have my Megacade situated next to our sliding glass door here. That would cause a problem with Sinden guns, so it's helpful to play or use those if you're going to be in a darker room, darker environment. But they are really, really good guns, and I would say they're a step above Aimtraks for sure. Is it Aimtrak? Aimtraks? Am I pronouncing that right? I'm not sure. Aimtraks, Aimtrak, you guys know what I'm talking about. Alright, and then the last option, and the option that I've gone with here, is called Gun4IR. Gun4IR was developed by RPEG Electronics, and I will put their website somewhere here in this video, and you can check them out. Basically, they modify light guns and they modify them with IR cameras, sometimes fisheye lenses, solenoids, rumble motors. They change out the PCBs on the inside and the cabling that comes out of it, and basically you can send RPEG Electronics any of your light guns, any of your existing light guns, Aimtraks, what are they called? Gun4IR, Gun4IR 2s, Jolt guns, bunches of different guns, and they can modify them for you. When they modify them, it's called Gun4IR, infrared, and they give you a couple things. They give you first a set of LEDs. These are IR LEDs, and they get situated around your monitor. You need one on top, one on bottom, one on the left, and one on the right. This allows the gun to track exactly where it's supposed to be, and your aim is basically as accurate as it can possibly get. If I had to rank the light guns that out there out of the 3 that I've mentioned, I would put Gun4IR on top, I'd put Sinden a little bit below that, and then I would put Aimtrak at the bottom. Again, that's just my opinion. There are plenty of people that I'm sure have different opinions, but that's my opinion. When you order your cabinet from EHA, I believe they will give you an option for Gun4IR or for Aimtrak. I don't know if they give you a Sinden option or not. Go ahead and check out the EHA website, and you can contact Dave directly, and they would be able to clarify that for you. That being said, I do know that Gun4IR can come built into your cabinet, which means that they will automatically, or your cabinet will come with the IR sensors installed. And I do recommend doing this. I didn't for my cabinet because I didn't even know that was an option at the time. Actually, I'm not even 100% sure that was an option at the time. So my cabinet originally came with Aimtrak guns. I quickly decided that I didn't want those, and I did want to upgrade to Gun4IR, and so that's what I proceeded to do, and I'll show you guys what I came up with. I had to modify my cabinet, which was way more difficult than it had to be, but it took a lot of time, about 2 days, to kind of figure out how I was going to do it. I tried to do it the least intensive way possible. So you have plenty of different gun options when you go for Gun4IR. I wanted an arcade feel, as close to an arcade feel as I could possibly get. That was within my budget, and yeah, so that's basically it. I really like the Time Crisis games, and that requires a pedal. Not all light guns require a pedal. So what I did was I found these. These are real arcade jolt guns. These have the kick. The slider will slide back as you fire, and it gives you a nice arcade feel. I don't know if RPEG Electronics adds any weight to these guns, but it does have a really good weight to it. I like how it feels, and I've got 2 of these. So this is the real arcade jolt. I purchased the guns separately, and then I shipped them to RPEG, and they modded them and sent them back. And I will show you here what else it comes with. Right down here. As you can see, I've got my 2 pedals right there. That's for games like Time Crisis and whatnot. So I've got 2 real arcade jolt guns modified with Gun4IR, and I'll show you where the LEDs are. So my cabinet did not come with Gun4IR sensors built in. It had Aimtrak, which is why I have the IR bar up at the top there. But that IR bar has actually now been disabled. I don't want it to interfere with my Gun4IR guns. So, let's see here. If you can look right up at the top there, you'll see a little notch. That's for the upper IR LEDs. And if you look down here at the bottom, right there, those are my bottom IR LEDs. And then I've got some on that side, and then I've got some on this side. You can see right here, I actually damaged the side of the cabinet a little bit with my Dremel, because I did have to Dremel the glass back a little bit to get my LEDs to come through. Is this the best way to modify your cabinet for Gun4IR? Probably not. But as I said earlier, I wanted to do this modification the least intrusive way possible. Could I have removed this outer glass, unmounted the TV, or removed a couple wood pieces and then mounted these LEDs a little bit easier and a little bit differently? Probably yes, but that's very intrusive. I wasn't sure, not 100% sure what's braced against what, and I didn't want to run the risk of dropping the TV or anything like that. So this is the setup that I came up with, and it works. There are a couple things to note. Since my cabinet did not come with Gun4IR from EHA, and it had Aimtrak in it, it had these power supplies inside. One power supply for player 1, one power supply for player 2. These are significant power supplies. They do 36 volts max out, and that is generally what's recommended if you look online at the Aimtrak guns. That being said, The solenoid inside the Aimtraks, I believe, is 24 volt max, and these will work, and a lot of people have good luck with these. However, if you're pushing that much more power through them, it can cause your solenoid to go bad prematurely. These are powerful power supplies, but what I can definitely say is these power supplies are way too strong for Gun4IR guns. So I did have to swap these out. Again, these are generally what your cabinet will come with if you order it with Aimtrak's guns. If you do decide to upgrade to Gun4IR guns, you will need to swap these out, and I'll put a link to the power supply that RPEG Electronics recommended for me in the description of this video or in the pinned comment down below. Alright, so this is underneath the control panel in my cabinet, and you can see this is where the USB port is, and this is where the power supply is. The power supply is for the recoil of the guns, and that's true for Gun4IR, and that's also true for Aimtrak's guns. I don't know if that's also true for Sinden's, but I would assume so. So I had to swap this out. If you unplug this here, you can see the little plug there for the power supply. That's where the power supply was that I removed, and this is the new one that I ordered from Amazon, and this is a 12 volt power supply for the recoil on the real arcade guns. Inside your EHA Megacade, you will have to do some wire management if you are going to change out the power supplies. I'm sure you can see when I was showing these earlier, there's some marks on here. This is just glue. So basically these were glued to the side of the cabinet, and the wires were routed through some zip ties to get where they needed to go. It's very easy just to use some hot glue on new power supplies, glue them into place, and then manage the wires so it just looks nice in there using zip ties. When you order Gun4IR guns or Gun4IR modded gun, you were given a license for their configuration or their calibration software, and they will send that to you in your email. You can use that software to calibrate your guns, and then for some games you will need to map them depending on personal preference and whatnot, and what guns you use, because different guns have different buttons. Some guns have pedals, other guns don't. So at that point, RPEG can help you out with that configuration, or anyone else on the EHA Facebook group. With that being said, let's see how they work, and we'll test them out. Gonna jump right into Time Crisis here. And I do have the Sinden software on here, so as you can see, there's the light white border there for the Sinden guns. Anyway, let's get right in here and we'll start playing.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light, ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? Supposed to feel. How's it supposed to feel? They wanna say my name, but they holding back. They wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't play no games, I just do that's fact. And I don't feel no shame, it's a mood you lack. I go crazy, nah bitch I ain't lazy. Track after track, I work on this shit daily. Pass me the jack, right as fuel, got me hazy. About to unpack all these things I've been chasing. I've got visions in my head, like memories after death. To be a legend instead of something you can forget. I'm living up every breath, I'd rather lead than be led. I'll fill the seeds as I spread with every word that I've said. How's it supposed to feel?
that's how the Gun4IR guns work. As you can see, I have a kickback here on my gun. Just trying to show it there. It kicks pretty good. It's a 12-volt power supply. All I wanted was really the sound and the kickback action. It doesn't need to really throw your hand back, but that's how Gun4IR works. That's how the real arcade Jolt guns work with a Gun4IR mod. In the process and the ordering process and getting the guns and sending them to RPEG and getting them back and then modifying the machine for Gun4IR and getting everything set up, I have learned a lot. So if there's any way I can help anyone else out with any questions they have about modifying their cabinets for Gun4IR, I will do my best to try to answer those questions. Shoot me a comment here on this video, or if you're a member of the EHA, the Extreme Home Arcade Owners Unite Facebook group, go ahead and shoot a question there. And myself, as well as the thousands of other people at this point, I believe, can take a shot at answering those questions for you. There are a bunch of really knowledgeable people that are members of that group, and they love to help you out. Thank you for joining me for this All Things Megacade video on Gun4IR. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button, and happy gaming.